members of the Tezos ecosystem. I'm your host, William McKenzie of Tezos Commons. And today we're joined with our other co-host, Ken Garofalo, and Nelly Chatue Diop of Tezos West Africa. How's everything going today, guys?
Perfect. Thank you for having me, William. Thank you, Ken.
Yeah, really excited to have you on, Nelly, and learn more about Tezos in West Africa.
Indeed.
Great. So we have quite a bit to get into today, but Ken, would you like to talk about the giveaway that we're going to be hosting later on?
Yeah, absolutely, Will. And this is really exciting, guys. So all the audience watching, make sure you stay tuned throughout the entire live stream. We're doing a Ledger Nano S that's engraved with the Tezos logo giveaway today. And we're going to be giving away a keyword with 10 minutes remaining in the live stream. The keyword's hidden right now, so it won't be revealed until the 10 minutes remaining. And then you'll enter that keyword into the chat, and we'll have a bot pick an eligible winner, and our moderator will reach out to that winner once the bot selects one of them. So stay tuned. Ledger Nano S coming in the remaining few minutes of this episode.
Yeah, definitely stay tuned. These are very limited, so it would be worthwhile to participate. But let's just go ahead and get into everything. Nelly, would you like to start things off and talk about your background a little bit?
Oh, where should I start? So I was born and raised in Cameroon, the eldest of 4 sisters. And I think throughout my childhood, my studies, I was already really versed into science, mathematics, and physics. And after my high school in Cameroon, in Douala, I moved to France, where I pursued an engineering degree in computer science. And for the past 15 years, I've been working in executive roles in multinationals, covering mainly handling tech and data departments. So outside of work, I'm really passionate about empowering women in tech, also trying to inspire young Africans to get interested into technology, into the digital, new digital revolution, because I think that it's really important that Africa grasp this opportunity as we missed the previous revolutions.
Yeah, absolutely. And so can you just give us a little bit of the background on how you fell down into the rabbit hole of blockchain and cryptocurrency?
Oh yeah, sure. So I remember it clearly. It was kind of August 2016. I was browsing on Quora. I don't know if you know Quora. So and I fell onto a post explaining kind of blockchain, but really highlighting how it could facilitate the transfer of value, and like being part of the diaspora since since I was living in France. I've been sending back money home. Like in 2016, it would have been like for the past 16 years, I will send regularly money back home to my family, and I will pay FT fees to the likes of Western Union and MoneyGram. So as soon as I heard about kind of blockchain, I started reading about it. The first use case that came to mind was remittances. And I think I did my first investment. I'm ashamed of telling that it was XRP actually, because it was kind of the first kind of crypto I heard about. And then I bought my first Bitcoin. I think it was like in October 2016. And for me, it was just like a bet on the vision I have, like a vision I wish to happen in the world. And then I spent like from August to October, I spent the following months reading everything I could about blockchain, getting to know more about Bitcoin, about mining. I mean, everything I could get my hands on.
Were you mining Bitcoin in the beginning or in 2016?
Oh, and I think it was already too late. What I got to mine was the Saya coin. I don't know, like the cloud storage. So yes, I got into mining Saya coin. Yeah.
Very interesting. Nelly, could you tell us your first encounter with Tezos?
So I think like when I first started reading about Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies, I started seeing like this crypto called Ethereum. Like it was already kind of popular at that time, and I saw that there were two Ethereum, and I didn't understand why. Like, why is there something called Ethereum and another called Ethereum Classic? Like, how can it happen? And then I had read about the DAO attack, and then I fell upon this white paper that Arthur wrote back in 2014, kind of explaining like this kind of self-governance protocol he had imagined, like talking about the forks problem and how designing a new way of governing, of self-governance, it could prevent forks from happening. So I think that's when I started, getting acquainted to the Tezos idea. And another thing that really appealed to me was the formal verification, because being really, being like a mathematician, loving mathematics, I've just felt like just doing unit tests was not enough. If I had to store my money on smart contracts, I really needed to make sure that the contract was doing exactly what it was supposed to. And the fact that there was OCaml, there was some kind of languages that could help design that system was really appealing to me. And when I heard about the ICO, of course, I will do the ICO. And in fact, I think at the time I had invested also in Stellar, and I sold all my Stellar and put everything into Tezos. Never regretted it. Best investment ever. And guys, if you're still hesitating, buy Tezos today. It's still very cheap.
Yeah, that's a good point. Still very cheap, and it's actually had a recent run up on price compared to BTC and the USD value. So that's interesting. You mentioned OCaml and the whole story of how Tezos secured smart contracts, more easily formally verified. So it's better suited for financially weighted smart contracts. So I wonder, your experience working in France, you mentioned, did you run into OCaml during your training there or your work there? Is that how you saw the overlap with OCaml and Tezos?
No, I didn't run into OCaml, but I'm used to like higher level languages, programming languages, because I started my career as a developer in Java, JavaScript, C, C++. So learning about like Michelson, like having like readable codes, like easily interpretable by the machine. I mean, I could see how it was more secure than the higher level languages that have all those loops and everything. So that's what I got. And then I happened to learn that there were a lot of laboratories in France working on OCaml. But personally, when we do develop smart contracts with my team in Cameroon, we use SmartPy, because Python is that the natural programming language I use in data science, in machine learning. So it's easier for me to just use Python and have the interpreter do the magic and translate it into Michelson.
Yeah, so really important point there. SmartPy, it allows you to code in Python, and then it compiles down to the Michelson language, right? So all you coders out there that are looking to get involved in Tezos, don't be afraid of learning a new language. You can still code in Python, correct?
Yeah, definitely. Go for it.
Excellent. So you're pretty heavily involved in the Tezos community in West Africa. And so can you just explain, how did that start? How did you start hosting your first meetup? How did the involvement start with the community?
Well, long story there, and I think I explained how I happened to get to know Tezos, and I think I stick with Tezos because of the community, because of the people, and you will understand it better when I explain how I happened to get involved. So I think it was May kind of last year, and it was the beginning of a long holiday weekend, and I was just, like browsing on Twitter and seeing all those events happening everywhere, and I was like, oh, it would be nice if I could organize an event in Africa, and I just tweeted that, I was like, what if I was organizing like a Tezos event in Africa? And then Stefan Hacker, like Tezos Noob, he just told me, just do it. And I was like, yeah, maybe I could do it. And then people started reaching out to me, like Sean from Tezos Commons. He was like, oh, we could help. And then Mike and Vishak from Cryptonomic. And suddenly I was kind of overwhelmed. I was like, oh my goodness, this thing is happening. And since I was set to go on vacation, because I go regularly in Cameroon, I was like, okay, let's do it in July. And then I remember Mike telling me, I mean, we are in May, you want to do it in July? Impossible. I say, okay, just watch and see. Impossible is my second name. You will see. And then, it happens that we organized this event in July, the 13th of July in Cameroon for the first year of Tezos. And Mike was able to come from New York, and it was a huge success. Like I was kind of thinking we will have like 40 attendees. It was kind of the first blockchain kind of major event, right? And then we had like 80 people coming with their computers, like ready to code. And we had a wonderful session. We had TV networks covering the event. I was so overwhelmed and so impressed by the energy coming from the young talent, the young Africans hungry to learn, and it has never stopped since then. And then I was like, oh my goodness, if that's happening in Douala in Cameroon, imagine the hunger those people also feel in the other countries like Nigeria, Ivory Coast, and Benin and Togo. What if from this niche community in one city, in one country in West Africa, we could dream of having like a larger one in the whole continent? And I think I really have to thank like the Tezos community really reaching out and helping. And I mentioned maybe 3-4 names, but there are so many more people. I think even you can. At some point we interacted. I mean, I could cite so many great people that I'm really honored to call my friends now. And my husband keep telling me, oh, those are your Twitter friends. I'm saying, yeah, but still they're my friends. We live in the digital world, so it's only normal that I could have digital friends.
Your decentralized digital coworkers in a way.
Yeah,
Right?
I mean, everything, like even the value, even the money is now digital. So why not friendship?
Exactly. And yeah, you mentioned some of those names. So Stefan from Tezos Noob, Sean from Tezos Commons, Mike and Vishak from Cryptonomic. So those are, you know, day one people that have been heavily involved in the project, and now they're friends in the digital commonwealth and coworkers in a sense. So started in Cameroon and then expanded to other countries along West Africa. So that's really interesting, guys. And I want the audience to realize that 80 people attended that first meetup. That's huge. When we do stuff in Boston, where it's hard to get numbers like that. So very impressive that you were able to do that on your first meetup, and everyone was hungry to learn and to code. So you're onto something there, and I'm sure that we're going to get more into it here. So I think
and that's why I'm really convinced that cryptocurrencies and blockchain, I mean, they were meant for Africa. I mean, they were meant for Africa.
Yeah, and actually, speaking on that, Nelly, something I'm particularly curious about, since I reside in the States, I'm sure we have some other community members who reside outside Africa as well. But what is the overall kind of viewpoint on cryptocurrencies in West Africa at the moment? I guess in terms of adoption and laws, can you kind of explain that a little bit?
Yeah, let me maybe start from the whole Africa. So like maybe most of the people don't really know. People think about Africa as a tiny continent or a kind of tiny country. So Africa is 30 million square meters, right? So within Africa, we could fit the whole US, the whole China, the whole India, a huge chunk of Europe, and we still will have some space left. So this is how huge Africa is. And adoption and laws and regulation differ from regions. So you have the South Africa region, which is pretty much advanced, with the central banks there being kind of lenient and allowing a lot of exchanges coming on and a lot of kind of buying and selling of cryptocurrencies happening. I think I've read that almost 2% of GDP is held as cryptocurrencies by the population there. You have the Eastern Africa, like Kenya and Uganda, that are also already on the path, because with M-Pesa coming in, I think it was more than 20 years ago, they got accustomed to digital money. And so cryptocurrencies was just another form of digital money. And then you have the West Africa and Central Africa, where there are two zones. Like you have the English-speaking zones, like with Nigeria leading the pack, because Nigerian is very populous, 200 million people. And because of the currencies there, the Naira is very volatile, has a lot of inflation. A lot of people living in Nigeria do not really trust completely the monetary policies enacted by their government. So for them, cryptocurrencies is a way to diversify their assets. It's also a way to do cross-border payments. And I think there are a large ecosystem of fintech and also crypto-focused, blockchain-focused companies that have been working with the central banks there and designing a framework for this technology to expand. When it comes to Francophone West Africa, and Cameroon is part of it, it's still very nascent. We are still in the early days. And that's also why, I've decided to kind of shift my life all around and move back permanently to Cameroon and Africa this month, next month, because I'm really convinced that with people like I and others that are passionate about this technology, we need to be on the continent and start discussing with central banks, start discussing with the Ministry of Finance, and get away from the scam fear that seems to prevail as of now, because they don't really know the technology, and people like handling it on the ground are really like the informal sellers and a lot of scammers. So they need people that are more serious, that have more ambitions, and that see how the country, how the world region can really spur a huge growth. It can boost economy. We need to show them that. And I think they are, having some initial talks with the central banks there and some people working in the finance ministry, they are really open to have this discussion. They are really open to have people like me, companies like Ijara developing on the blockchain, initiate this talk and helping them design the framework. And you have the last part of Africa, which is the Northern Africa, where it's pretty much banned. Like in Morocco, Algeria, I think cryptocurrency is banned. Although I see some blockchain being used mainly for supply chain application use cases.
Yeah, that's extremely interesting insights and a lot to unpack there. So let's start with the use case of cryptocurrency as a form of digital currency. It seems like that's the most adoption that's happening, within the continent, that from what I've gathered here. So remittances are one thing, right? But having a national currency that's fiat based, that has more volatility than say Bitcoin. So is that something that allows for an ease of adoption from the average user, because they're used to the volatility of their own currency and they may be looking to protect against hyperinflation? Is that what you're seeing?
Yes, obviously, like, and actually, when you are in Nigeria and you have the Naira getting really debased year in, year out, you don't feel like Bitcoin is volatile, right? When you have the Ghanaian cedis, and it's like maybe between 10%, 12% some years, like of volatility, inflation, it's just some cryptocurrencies or Tezos or Stellar could seem kind of pretty stable. And that's maybe also why the adoption is it's slower in Francophone Africa, because we have the CFA franc, which is pegged to euro. So we have the illusion illusion of stability. But what we lack, and because people need to get more involved into understanding, like not having the ownership of your monetary policy, is really, really a huge risk. And I can really say that because, like we already encountered one devaluation in 1994, where the French government decided that we didn't have, like, our commercial balance was not balanced enough. And suddenly we woke up one morning and the CFA franc, was the value was divided by 2. So imagine the poor people on the ground, like having their saving divided by 2. And on top of it, all the imported goods were kind of costing twice more. So actually your purchasing power is in shackles. And I think that's happened once. And because it happens once, it's already set a precedent. So I really think that we need to educate the people about this diversification aspect and this risk that they are taking without their knowledge.
Yeah, absolutely. And I just wanted to follow up again on the discussions that you may be having or other people may be having with the central banks over there, or the ministries of finance. Is there any thought, or what are those conversations looking like? Is there any thought on having them go to a central bank digital currency where it's on, say, the Tezos blockchain?
Yeah. So for now, it's kind of still very early. They are trying to get their head around what is really blockchain apart from cryptocurrencies. What can be the potential use cases for the government? Like like two use cases that really come directly from my mind is like digital identity. Because a lot of times we talk about banking the unbanked, like those people that are excluded from the traditional banking system. But one of the reasons for that is like many people like identity card, right? So when it comes to doing KYC, AML, when you don't have an identity card, it makes it very difficult. So maybe digital identity on blockchain could be an answer. And if you on top of that, you put like zero knowledge proof to just be able to show and to prove who you are without showing all your details. It could be also something that's that is of interest when we for the countries. Another one is the land registry. I don't know of any country, any economy that managed to really grow exponentially without making those dormant assets more vivid and more liquid. And we talk about huge, 30 million square meters in Africa. And in a country like Cameroon, the last I was reading, it was like, I think 80% of the land is not registered correctly on the land registry, national land registry. So imagine if instead of doing it on paper and then maybe digitalizing it on a regular database, we could just put it on blockchain and record the longitude and latitude on the blockchain, and that's it. It's registered once, and then the succeeding ownership is also registered. The transaction is making more. It's made more flawless. I think that could also be use cases that I see on top of mind of the people I'm talking to on the ground.
Yeah, and just going off on that, Nelly, you brought up in terms of use cases, you brought up supply chain earlier. What kind of use cases do you see coming from that?
It's funny that you should mention that because, the world is going through a pandemic. I'm sure by now everybody is aware of it, unless you live on the moon or even there, they might have encountered some COVID-19. We don't know because Elon Musk sent something, so maybe it reached to them. One use case that, last April, I was reading a newspaper and I saw that 2 people got arrested. It was in a country in Africa. I couldn't remember the country because they were selling fake chloroquine. So they were taking corn flour and cassava flour, and they were making it into pills, and they were selling it to the population as a cure for COVID. And I was like, oh, what if there was a way to kind of serialize and track the actual, like the verified chloroquine, right? And then with my team and other African nationals from Tunisia, Algeria, we started brainstorming, and we developed a prototype of a solution using Tezos, smart contract on Tezos to kind of serialize, like if, for example, a national laboratory was to produce chloroquine, we could register it there on the Tezos blockchain and then follow through, like having a simple application, user-friendly smartphone application that the pharmacist could use, like the regular user could use, just scan the code and have an answer right away, where it was registered, by who, what is the expiry date, maybe even how to consume it, because sometimes the drugs, because it's not, the dosage is not well understood or well given to the patient, it leads to fatal consequences. So we kind of developed that, and I think we're going to open source this smart contract, and we also have the app developed. So when it comes to supply chain, in Africa, we are really pragmatic, right? I know that in Europe, when we talk about using blockchain to the supply chain, we talk about like tracking every single like customs encounter, like when it goes into a port, when it goes into a boat, and but for us, it's like we are going from zero. So let's just start doing something, even if this something cover only a tiny part of the supply chain, it's already something. So let's do baby steps. Before a baby is able to run, he crawls, then he walks. So let's already start crawling, and let's see how it's used, how the people adopt it, how the population adopt it, what value it brings to the population. Because I think we're gonna measure the adoption, for me, should be measured not in terms of the number of people buying crypto or but by the amount of life changes we bring to the people on a daily basis.
Yeah, that's a great point. We can't lose sight of the fact that blockchain can help society and help humanity with these critical issues like counterfeit medicine, for example, through supply chain. So very, very good insights there. And we are at the point of the show where we're going to give the keyword away for the giveaway.
Whoa.
So, all right, drum roll, please. Everyone listen up here. So for those of you in the chat, you're going to have to enter this as is. It's going to be exclamation point, Tezos Africa, capital T, capital A, exclamation point, Tezos Africa. And the Nightbot will select all of the eligible participants, and we will announce the winner at the end of this episode. And the winner will have to email social@tezoscommons.org for the follow-up, but we'll announce that all at the end of the show here. So Nelly, we are about to go into a screen share demonstration of your product here, Ijahar. Hopefully I'm saying that right, Ijahar, right? Ijahar. Okay. And let me just set up the screen share here. We're going to go into a little video. I'll mute myself, and you can feel free to talk over me while the video plays.
Perfect.
Okay.
Yeah, so basically, Ijaha is a startup, is a project we started like 1 year ago with some friends. It's a mobile investment platform allowing people residing in the CFA franc zone to buy Tezos and Bitcoin with their mobile money accounts. So now you just see people, going in, deciding to buy Bitcoin, and then interacting with the telco mobile money system using the USSD protocol, and that's the star, some numbers and yes. So this is the interaction with the telcos system. Not very user friendly, but we are getting there because we have to go out of Ijara and coming back. So now, through mobile money, the account is loaded with CFA franc, 7,100. Okay, that's it. And now the user can just buy some Tezos using their local currency.
So this is usually the CFA franc that they're using to buy?
Yes, exactly, the CFA franc. Yeah. So it just helps to foster like a quicker adoption, right? Because if people had to go and try to get euro or dollar to buy crypto, I mean, it will make it less easy for them to get access to it. And I really want people to get at least one Tezos each on Africa. Imagine if every single African could hold one Tezos. That would be awesome.
That would be spectacular. And can you give us some insights?
Yeah.
I noticed there are multiple assets for sale on this app.
Yeah.
And where are you seeing users flow to?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I was so surprised because Bitcoin is like kind of the cryptocurrencies, like mostly trending. If you go on Google Trend and you type Bitcoin, it's like really huge in Africa, right? So when we started this platform, I thought, oh, Bitcoin will be like the most sold crypto, and we are very surprised because out of all the transactions that have happened since the beginning of the year, like 80% is Tezos oriented. So people are really versed, I mean, convinced about like the future value of Tezos, because as of now we haven't haven't deployed yet the staking features of Tezos. So people are really only betting on Tezos having more value in the future. And I guess they are right, because when we deployed it the first time, they could buy Tezos for like the equivalent of €1, and now it's like €2.40, €2.50. So they have already increased in value. So yeah.
Yeah, that's interesting to note. I think in our pre-call yesterday, you mentioned also that the people want to hold a singular whole coin, right? To them,
Yes.
holding a whole XTZ means something more than holding one Satoshi of Bitcoin, right?
Oh, definitely. I think it's a psychological effect, So yeah, they are really proud. And then when they have one, then they want to go to 10, and we've seen that. And what is really encouraging is that we've seen people like testing the app, buying once, and then, without us starting explaining to them the dollar averaging concept, we see them coming to do repeat purchases. So currently, like the repeat purchase rate is about 60%. So meaning that if you look at a 3 months period, the people buying have bought at least twice, like 60% of people that bought once have bought a second or third time. So it's those KPIs are really encouraging, and the future is seems really bright for Ijara. Especially, I have to say that since we are raising our seed round, so yeah. So if there are any investor there that are really bullish on Africa, and really trust that, building all our infra and using a lot of smart contracts on Tezos is something that could matter to them, just contact me.
Awesome. So I guess apart from Ijara, are there any other projects in the Tezos West Africa community?
Yeah, so I think one project that comes to my mind is I know in Senegal there are two people currently trying to work on the design of a land registry on the Tezos blockchain. So we started discussing, seeing how to design this project. So this is kind of, yes, as of now, this is one project that people are really working on from Senegal.
That's interesting. And do you know if those projects, the other ones that you mentioned, started up because of you basically introducing Tezos to them, or did they discover Tezos on their own, these other communities?
No, it's because we introduced Tezos to them, because when they first started about doing it on the blockchain, they told me they were going through to do it on Hyperledger. And yes, because I think IBM has been doing a lot of lobbying over there, and we started discussing, and they realized that, Tezos being like a public blockchain could also be an answer, and that it was not really that difficult finally to get into it. We mentioned Python, so it's a language that regular programmer already know, or they can learn very quickly. So yeah. And also they knew that they could have our support, because within the Tezos community in Africa, we have really strong developers in Cameroon, in Ghana. We are working towards having more. Hopefully, in the next 12 months, we will have trained more with the help of the larger Tezos community. Yeah.
Yeah, that's excellent. And so getting back into the Tezos West Africa Coalition, what does that comprise of, and what are the plans for the coming months for the group?
Okay, so as of now, we have 6 approved chapters, namely Cameroon, Ivory Coast, Nigeria, Ghana, Senegal, Benin. There are 2-3 more that are getting in talks right now. So we have a very how can I say, strenuous, not strenuous, but we need to vet the people that we allow into the community to really access if they are really into they share our values, because as I say, community is key. Having the same values, the same vision is also key, and the rest we can teach people, right? Even if they are not technical when they begin discussing with us, we know maybe we can make them there, we can take them there, and they can also grow the community with their passion and embrace more developers ecosystem that are residing within their country. So our current kind of goal for the next 12 months is first to raise awareness, is to continue to organize all those events, meetups, to go to local universities, talk to students, explaining to them about blockchain, about introducing them to Tezos. And the fact that we have Ijaha is already good, because when we do some events, we can do giveaways in Tezos, right? And they have to set up an account, they have to learn about, because Ijaha is a non-custodial wallet and exchange. So they have to learn about how I have to this 24 mnemonic, how do I keep it? And they start asking themselves questions, and it forces them to do some research. And in the process of just wanting to get 1 Tezos or 2 Tezos giveaway, they will opt to put them into the rabbit hole, right? Because we know how it works. Every single time, we know that doing this way, we have an 80% success rate. So it will make our life easier. And I also think that there are a lot of tech events happening in Africa, throughout Africa. So we also plan to be more visible there, more involved, to have a specialized booth to talk about our community. The second part of our ambition is to organize training. So we're going to start with online trainings, because there are a lot of material available, thanks to the Tezos Foundation funding some of them, and also like the Smart Pi community, the LIGO. So we are currently working on doing 2 training streams, one in French and one in English, so that the people can get trained. And the specificities of Africa make it so that to encourage people to come in every single week and get trained, we're gonna give them Tezos to pay for the data that they spend to go to the internet. So it's like we pay you, but we don't really pay you. It's just like an incentive for you when you start to give your assignments, to get your assignment review, to have the feedback, and move through the 8 weeks or 10 weeks of the training. So this is something that is really dear, because as I told you, I really want to grow the ecosystem of developers, of people that are really technical trained, because they are living in Africa. They know all the challenges, and oh, God knows there are so many challenges that Africa is facing. So combining these kind of problems that they encounter on a daily basis with the tools that they can match together and solve the issue, it's really what I think could make the adoption grow massive in Africa.
Yeah, absolutely. And I can't thank you enough for doing what you're doing in terms of onboarding new participants into the ecosystem, giving them the tools they need to take the next steps to get themselves down the rabbit hole, and then the training course that you're offering incentives for them to participate in. That's really just phenomenal stuff you're doing for the continent of Africa and beyond. So we do have a winner of the Ledger
Whoa.
Nano S giveaway. We have a winner. And this is a username. Will, would you like to make the announcement?
Sure, I'll make the announcements. So the winner of the Tezos branded Ledger Nano S is White Hag Joe.
Whoa,
That's
congratulations.
it's quite a name, but White Hag Joe, you need to send an email to social@tezoscommons.org and send a screenshot showing proof.
Congratulations, White Hag Joe, and that's about $150 value there. So that's kind of cool there.
That's
That's a pretty good
awesome.
giveaway. Yeah.
And Ken, if I could, because I think one thing I really have to mention, I really have to thank all the chapter leads of Tezos West Africa, right? Because they are really the ones kind of handling the communities within their own countries. So if you just allow me to cite their names, because I'm really in awe of their passion, of how they are motivated to spread the word about Tezos. So in Nigeria, we have Adibayo, thank you. In Senegal, we have Bineta and Modu, thank you. In Ivory Coast, we have Honora and Jean Ulrich, thank you. In Ghana, we have Seth and Isabella. Thank you. And in Cameroon, we have Jamal and Abdel. So I'm really, really grateful to you guys. I know I always tell you that, but I wanted to take this opportunity for the world to know how grateful. And you make my life easy, because now I'm getting Ken and William saying thank you to me, and you guys are doing the whole work. So really thank you. And not forgetting Rob, because Robert from Tezos Commons is really helping us to take it off the ground with his project management skills. So, and also his knowledge of the whole ecosystem. So he's helping us a lot. So really thank you. And that's also to say that, I went into Tezos for the self-governance aspirity, for the formal verification, but I stick to Tezos for the community and the people.
Very well said. And that's a sentiment we hear echoed throughout the ecosystem, is that the Tezos community is second to none. And it really is like a second family for most people. So
Yeah.
we want to keep having that prosper for years to come. So before we close up here, there is an announcement coming in regards to your website, right? You want to make the announcement?
Yeah, of course. So, like we talk about the Tezos community. When I first organized the event in Cameroon, one community member, Jeff Borsell, reached out to me and told me, "Oh, I have booked like some times ago the domain name tezosafrica.com, because I didn't want a check booking the name, and I'm giving it for free to you, because given what you have done in Cameroon, I'm sure you will do more in Africa." So he believed in me before I even believed in me, because at that point I didn't even know I will organize this kind of huge community across the West Africa. So now our website is live, tezosafrica.com. You will see all our upcoming events. You will have pictures, background of who we are, what we stand for, what our values. And hopefully we're going to try not only to put like pictures of our events, or also pictures of our countries, because I think that through Tezos, I also want people from the Tezos community to learn more about Africa and to be more versed about Africa. I know that Africa is not only poverty, Africa is beautiful. We have huge talents there. We have, like real people having like wonderful lives, and they just need the opportunities.
Excellent. So again, that's tezosafrica.com. The site is live. So I'm going to go over there and check it out right after this. I hope everyone does as well, so we can keep up to date with all the developments coming out of the community there. And so just to give some Twitter points of contact. So the main point of contact here on Twitter is at Tezos in Africa. For the Cameroon community, it's at Cameroon Tezos. For the Ivory Coast community, it's at XTZ Côte d'Ivory. For the Nigeria community, it's Tezos Nigeria. For Senegal, it's at Tezos Senegal. For Ghana, it's at Tezos_Ghana. For Benin, it is at XTZ Benin. And for the Telegram communities, we have Tezos West Africa FR and Tezos West Africa ENG, probably for the language specifics there, I would imagine.
Definitely. Exactly. Yeah.
All right. And
Thank you.
before we wrap up, was there any final statement you wanted to make, Nelly?
Oh, I mean, I just want to thank you, Ken and William for having me there, and I'm really hope that next year we organize like another huge event in Africa, and that I get to have more of you guys to come over to our beautiful continent and share, and maybe even having Arthur or Kathleen. I knew Kathleen was having an interview at TQ. Earlier today, so hopefully she could come and meet, because I'm sure like with the new gaming system that she's designing, people in Africa will be fond of.
Absolutely.
So thank you guys. Thank you guys.
Absolutely, and welcome, and we hope to see those developments occur as well. So this has been a pleasure for Nelly, Chatue, Diop, and William Mackenzie. I am Ken Garofalo. You can follow us at Tezos Commons on Twitter, the Tezos Commons YouTube channel, or tezoscommons.org. Thank you so much for watching, guys. Until next time, take care.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.